Bitcoin will hit $500,000 plus by the end of 2024. Actually, no, I'm not really sure if it will, but it may, based on a lot of the research and the data that I've been crunching. So I can provide you guys with a realistic Bitcoin price target based on research and Bitcoin's historical performance. Now, I know a lot of other people out here are throwing out price targets all over the place, but I haven't really seen a lot of merit or a lot of real data backing up their claims. But guys, I'm going to do things a little bit different, and I'm going to give you guys a realistic price target based on data that I crunched. I haven't seen anyone else do on YouTube or anywhere else on the internet. So be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you like this type of data-backed research. So I know everyone out here has complicated technical analysis using the RSI, using things like Fibonacci, waves, and all of these complicated metrics. Some people out here are using things based on Bitcoin's volatility, based on the Bitcoin ETFs, and that's all real speculation, okay? We really don't know exactly what Bitcoin will do or where the price will be. But historically, after the halving, Bitcoin's price has skyrocketed over the next 6 to 12 months after the halving. But I'm going to give you guys a realistic, statistical-based price prediction based on the performance of Bitcoin's price on the day of the previous three halvings, and then the price of Bitcoin at the end of the year of each halving event. So what this tells us is where Bitcoin's price is on the day of the halving, and then where it ends up on December 31st at the end of the year. So this kind of gives us a range of how Bitcoin reacts to the supply shock. And this is very important to understand because at the end of the day, looking at Bitcoin over the long run, looking at Bitcoin over a 12-month period instead of a monthly or weekly or daily period, it really gives you a chance to kind of zoom out and kind of just really appreciate how Bitcoin absolutely skyrockets over the long term. And that makes sense simply because as governments issue more and more fiat currency, a lot of that fiat currency is ending up in Bitcoin as smart long-term thinkers convert their weak fiat money into strong, hard, assets like Bitcoin, gold, etc. So I'm going to give you guys a number right now. So let's just dive right into the data. So the first Bitcoin halving took place on November 28th, 2012. Bitcoin's price at that halving was $12.50. Okay, on December 31st, 2012, Bitcoin's price was $13.50. So that was a ROI or a return of 8%. Okay, so Bitcoin's return from the day of the first halving at the end of that year was 8%. The second halving took place on July 9th, 2016. Bitcoin's price was $638. And at the end of 2016, Bitcoin's price was $963, which was an ROI of about 50%. Pretty good. The third halving took place on May 11th, 2020. Bitcoin's price was $8,475. At the end of 2020, Bitcoin's price was $28,933, which was an ROI of 241%. I hope you guys are catching up and starting to understand what's happening. After each halving, the ROI of Bitcoin from the day of the halving to the end of that year has only gone up. So the ROI from the first halving to the end of 2012, 8%. The ROI from the second halving to the end of 2016, 50%. The ROI of Bitcoin on the halving to the end of 2020 was 241%. So this kind of debunks the theory of diminishing returns from Bitcoin, because even though I mentioned that the returns for the entire cycle are smaller, the returns for that immediate period from the halving to the end of the year have only grown. So now we're just past the fourth halving date, which took place on April 19th, 2024. Bitcoin's price at that halving was 64,000. So where is Bitcoin going to end up? Well, what I simply did was I compared the growth rate from the ROI of the first year in Bitcoin, which is 8%, to the 241%. Okay, so if we extrapolate that data, okay, and try to see like how fast is that rate growing, okay, well, it's growing at a pretty fast clip, okay. On average, if you kind of extrapolate, if you said that's an average, we took the average of 8%, 50%, 241%, that's an average about 200%. So the ROI from Bitcoin's halving date until the end of that year is on average 200%. But if we took a look at the compounded growth rate, how fast that rate is growing, it's growing at a rate of 4.5. So on average over those last three halvings, Bitcoin's ROI from the day of the halving to the end of the year is growing at a factor of 4.5 because, right, we started at 8%, then 50%, then 241%. So another interesting thing is that ROI keeps adding a digit. So the first Bitcoin halving, the ROI from the halving to the end of the year was 8%, then 50%, then 241%. So one digit, two digits, three digits. So what I did is I basically took the ROI of the third halving, which is 241%, and then I multiplied it by 4.5. That came out to an ROI of about 1,000%. So could this mean that Bitcoin could trade at a massive price of around 700K by the end of 2024? Well, if it continues to follow historical data that it's been adding a digit in terms of the ROI from the date of the halving to the end of that same year, then Bitcoin could be well over $700,000 by the end of 2024. Now, this is just based on the data that I've crunched. This doesn't mean that this is really going to happen, but it's very interesting to see that though the ROI keeps increasing. And that makes sense. Now, remember this data that I'm using doesn't account for the bear market. It's just accounting for the halving, the period between the halving and the end of the year, which is the big chunk, one of the biggest chunks of the bull market, okay? And like I said, it's not the entire bull market, okay? It's usually just, in the past, it's just been at max, right, since May 2020, because that was the most recent full period. It was just about 7 months. So we know historically that Bitcoin's bull run from the day of the halving to usually the top of the market usually lasts about, on average, 16 months or about 550 days, 500 to 550 days. But this is a really interesting statistic, and it kind of also backs up the claims that Bitcoins might be going through an accelerated bull market, which means that we might be peaking in price much sooner than we thought thanks to the ETFs, because the ETFs are simply just driving up the price much faster than if there weren't any ETFs. It's basically only a bunch of degens and nerds basically investing in this magic internet money. But I think the biggest takeaway from all of this is that Bitcoin is increasing its adoption rate. More and more people are using it, which means that it's not a Ponzi scheme, okay? It's not a pump and dump. It's not a pyramid scheme. It's simply people from all over the world deciding to join their forces together and use a currency that can be accepted anywhere 24/7, 365, and the network itself is audited every 10 minutes to make sure all of the transactions are valid and there's no corruption or any other monkey business going on. And this really debunks a lot of the haters out there that say, Bitcoin's too expensive, blah, blah, blah. Bitcoin's best days are ahead, okay? There's a total of 33 halvings. The last halving will take place in 2140, okay? The majority of us right now will not live long enough to see that last halving. But just realize that we've only been through 4 halvings, and there's still 29 halving events left. So it's very early in Bitcoin, guys. And if you invest in this asset, if you put some of your money into Bitcoin, you're not only making your future better, but you're making your kids' futures better, your grandkids, and potentially even your great grandkids. Because, like I said, the last halving event takes place in 2140, and there will be no Bitcoin mined after 2140. 100% of the Bitcoin will be mined, and that's it. So this could be literally a generational wealth building tool that wasn't available in the previous millennium. Okay, it wasn't available in the previous century. So like, just be blessed that you're able to even have this option. Okay, think about last century where you basically had to invest in the stock market or have savings account or a checking account or bonds or gold. So this is just another option at your disposal. You don't have to buy Bitcoin, but just understand that it's still early. And based on my data, I don't see any reason why Bitcoin, couldn't soar 1,000% this year if it continues to follow historical trends. So, like I said, guys, let me know what you think about my data. I don't know. Could Bitcoin hit 700K? Maybe. We don't know. No one knows for sure. But just sharing what my research with you guys. Let me know what you think. If you guys enjoyed this video, please smash the subscribe button. And let me know what you think. What do you think Bitcoin's price will be at the end of 2024? It'd be really interesting to hear what you guys have to say. So that's all I got until next time, guys. See you in the next video. Take care.